Hi, I'm Dempsey Palat, and this week I'm reviewing... Now, before I begin this movie review, I just want to make sure I take a second to remind you to hit that like button and subscribe if you're not already subscribed, especially if you want to see more awesome content like this video. I post new movie reviews weekly, and I do post the occasional trailer reaction, so if you like that kind of stuff, this is the place to be, and yeah, I hope you like what you see. Now, without further ado, let's dive into The Irishman. The Irishman was directed by Martin Scorsese, and it's based on the nonfiction novel written by Charles Brand called I Heard You Paint Houses. Not horses, houses, okay? I found out the hard way. Now, the film follows Frank Sheeran, played by Robert De Niro, and it chronicles his rise to power within the Italian mafia, despite being, well, wait for it, an Irish man.
Oh, that's why they call it that.
The film also chronicles his friendship with infamous labor union leader Jimmy Hoffa. In addition to Robert De Niro, this film stars everybody. Like, I'm serious. There's so many people in this movie. Joe Pesci, Al Pacino, Ray Romano. It sounds like I'm making coffee at Starbucks, right? Bobby Cannavale, Harvey Keitel, Action Bronson, Dwight from The Office, Joey Bag of Donuts, Mr. Poopy Butthole. I'm pretty sure I even saw the ghost of Tony Soprano in one frame, I swear. Obviously, I'm kidding about some of those, but the bottom line is there are a lot of really great actors and actresses in this movie, and they deliver great performances, but for the most part, they're pretty much background noise. The film primarily focuses on De Niro, Pesci, and Pacino's characters. De Niro's performance is particularly interesting just because this time around, he's not really playing a tough guy. He does a lot of tough things, don't get me wrong, especially when he's like killing people, or should I say painting houses, but even afterwards, he's very calm about it. He's very reserved. He's not aggressive, and I mean, those are the kind of characters he's known for. I would even argue that in his most recent film before this, Joker, he still kind of plays an aggressive role. But here, he's just absolutely confrontational. In fact, a lot of the characters in this film rely on him to get stuff done. And he even acts as a mediator in some situations. And honestly, I think he nailed it. It was refreshing to see him do something different, and I liked what he did with it. Now, it's great to see Joe Pesci back on the big screen and all, but that's where the excitement ends for me. I didn't really think he did anything extraordinary in this movie. To me, it was just like, Joe Pesci's back, yay. Other than that, I mean, he's a really important character, as I said before, but other than that, I don't think he did anything too memorable. And as much as I liked Robert De Niro's portrayal, as I said before, I don't even think he was even the one that shined the most in this film. To be honest, the person who stole the show, in my opinion, was actually Al Pacino. As Jimmy Hoffa, he is a hoot. He is confident, cool, funny, and eventually even a little mad. Pacino shifts through the traits like a chameleon, and it is glorious. But it's also heartbreaking at times. He is by far the most human character, and in essence, I think he captures what made Jimmy Hoffa so popular with America in the first place. He's going to be the character I know audiences will resonate with the most. And he's also got some really great dialogue. Literally, every time I laughed in this movie, it was either because of something that he said or he did. And I'm 100% sure that he's going to garner an Oscar nomination for this role. There's just something about it. I mean, there's this one scene he has in particular where he's like in a meeting and he's waiting for someone to show up, and then he lectures the person about being on time, and it's just, well, it makes a lot of sense, but the way that he does it, his delivery, it's just honestly one of the best monologues in the film. I just loved his character in general. I loved what he did with it, and yeah, honestly, one of the best things about the film in my opinion. Beyond Pacino's performance, I think that the makeup and special effects were also very well done, especially for technology that's still being perfected. A lot of the cast members go through a whole range of ages throughout the film, and very rarely is it questionable. I think there was only really one or two times where I sat back and I said, that looks fake. That looks very fake. But for the most part, I think that Martin Scorsese did a really great job with it. Now, this is easily one of Martin Scorsese's best films to date, but That's not really saying much. Okay, the guy sneezes out success, I'm convinced. Now, the film does borrow from a lot of his prior films, Goodfellas in particular, and I would also even argue Wolf of Wall Street in terms of style and tone, but the film also differentiates itself because of how personal it is. In the last hour alone, and we'll get into the runtime in just a minute, as the film winds down, you can't help but feel like Scorsese is coming to terms with his own mortality. Some of the shots that we see, and even some of the things that Frank says towards the end of the film, feel like reflections of Scorsese's own time and mistakes. I mean, one of the final themes that the film touches upon is, you know, coming to terms with who you are despite everybody you know being gone. At that point, were the sacrifices even worth it? And it feels like despite the legacy, despite the accolades, Scorsese's satisfied, but he's also kind of hesitant. There's no doubt in my mind that this film, and De Niro in particular, are a vicarious vessel for Scorsese. This film is so close to being perfect, but as I hinted at before, it is just way too long. So long that I actually haven't even finished the movie, so if you give me like 3 more hours, I'll be right back. Obviously, I'm kidding, okay? The movie's 3.5 hours long. You could literally cut this film in half and it'll still technically be considered a feature. That's scary. Now, I know Martin Scorsese's at the point in his life where he can pretty much do whatever the hell he wants without question, and he should be. But 3.5 hours? I couldn't even feel my legs. I couldn't. At the very least, I think that this film could have had an hour shaved off of it. It just needed to be a little bit tighter, in my opinion. There is actually a scene towards the end of the film where one of the characters is taking pills and they spill them out the bottle, and you see them picking them up one by one. What the hell? Okay, cinema, right? And also there are a bunch of moments towards the end of the film too where you think the movie's just about to be over, but then it goes on for like another 30 minutes. And the one time where the movie actually does end and cut to the credits, it's a scene where you think something else is actually gonna happen. That was the one point in the movie where I was like getting up in my seat again, and I was like, okay, what's gonna happen? I'm down. What happens next? Nope. Biggest psych out of the year in my opinion, but. In all seriousness, though, this film was phenomenal, okay? Despite its length, it is truly something to behold. Now, watch me be ironic. The same way that all of Marvel's films have built upon each other to create something as epic as Endgame, I think that Martin Scorsese's entire catalog of films have prepared him for this. Okay, this film is a culmination of an entire career of hard work and storytelling. And honestly, you can't help but think that it's also a part of Scorsese's Endgame too. As painful as it might be to think about, this could very well be Scorsese's last film. And as I mentioned before, I think he knows that. Going into it, I was kind of aware of that, kind of thinking of that. And as a result, the experience I had watching this movie was just as glorious and just as special as watching any other epic film out there, especially any superhero film. The Irishman may not be perfect, but I think it's a reminder from Scorsese as to why we go to the movies in the first place. And for that, I'm going to give it 4.5 stars.
All right, then. We don't have nothing to worry about.
Guys, thanks so much for taking the time out of your day to view this video. It really does mean the world to me. And as I mentioned before, if you like this video, make sure you hit that like button and also subscribe if you aren't already. I post new videos weekly and I'm always working on new stuff. In fact, December is going to be a really huge month. I'm super excited for all of you guys to see what I have for you. But you'll just have to wait. And speaking of waiting, The Irishman does not come out globally, I guess, until November 27th. That is when it hits Netflix. Right now, it's in some select theaters throughout the country, so if you have happened to see it already, or if you're going to see it, or when you do see it, just let me know what you thought about it in the comment section below. I look forward to seeing what other cinephiles thought about this movie. It's going to definitely be a big awards contender. I already know that for a fact. But yeah, that's all the time I have for today, so I should probably get back to work. Until next time, I'm Dempsey Pollard. Take care.